All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 51st episode of the Apostle Obsonate playthrough with Ike Upscribe. What we're going to be working on for the next few rounds or videos, will be just trying to plow through as many expeditions as we can to get the remaining items. We've got the 7 Graces. We do need the Chalice Murmurous, along with some other objectives if we're going to be doing the Vitulation. And one of the challenges I will be running into is, at the moment I'm fine because I've got quite a few expeditions, but at some point I'm going to need to find places basically after Fox Lily Meadows, and the fastest way that I'll be able to get those is by upgrading my Secret Histories lore. So one of the things that I will need to do to upgrade the Secret Histories lore is to be able to pass the checks in my study that go through it. Now, my study is better used right now to sort of pursue these other books. It's just simply a better use of my time. But with this in mind, you'll notice, we haven't done this yet, but you'll notice that there are some other aspects in terms of the lore. I think this was actually added to just try and make upgrading lore a little bit more interesting, as well as also just provide a challenge. But you'll have to sort of solve these little puzzles as you try to combine and upgrade lore. So in this case here, we would require knowledge. So in this case, it would either be erudition or library HQ. Now, to my view, it's not that hard to get erudition, so I probably wouldn't want to blow my headquarters on that. And then we have intuition. So this would be Glimmerings or a Sanctuary. Okay, actually neither of these are particularly difficult to deal with. Sometimes there are more challenging upgrades. This might be a good example here. Paradoxical Resolution. You need a Sanctuary, open soul, or Passion. There's a very small risk that your Passion might be permanently damaged. And so the higher you go with these sorts of things, it's nice to try and protect yourself from the worst outcomes. And while there's a number of things that I would like to upgrade, Sacred Histories is probably the highest priority, so I'd like to try and get these up to some higher values as soon as I can, just so I can get a better idea in terms of what challenges I'll be facing. Now, my study verb is currently unoccupied, and we've got some new books, so we'll do the Geminid. I know I read this on Wednesday, but for those of you who, for whatever reason, didn't see that video, fragile manuscript illuminated with the twin shapes of sad and luminous beauty, and with all the phases of the moon. It might be as old as the 7th century, but the language, if you've seen, is much older. Coral decorates its cover, and its page edges are sharp enough to slash a throat. Now, fun little bit of background here. You may recall that there is a house that you break into, and it catches fire at the end of your little expedition. And the Geminid used to come out of that one, and specifically, there was no way of learning the language. This was back in the, not even the playable demo, sort of the prototype. I always found that kind of interesting. This one's a little bit of a special book for me, just because it always reminds me of when I first played this game as a itch.io little prototype. The developer had done a DLC for Stellaris that I quite liked, and obviously put me down a very interesting path towards something that's become a YouTube series. All right, Foreman House. Philip Foreman, the helminthologist and antiquarian, did all his best work here at the family home until the day his subjects escaped. The infestation was destroyed, but Foreman, they say, walks the halls to this day, guarding his library and his shame. Okay. This suggests to me that winter will probably be a factor. Unquestionably, this bleak mansion is haunted. Okay, the last visitor saw and fled the dead before they could touch him with their fraying hands. The visitor before that claimed she saw nothing, but she died of despair exactly 1 year later to the day. Okay, well, Claire, get in there. And I think that's all of our slots. We're still looking to clear up our notoriety. We're going to be generating a lot of that, but evidence is a higher priority because it's a higher threat. And in 7 seconds, I'll be able to get rid of the dread. Let's try... This could turn into fascination and be bad for me. So let's do the Ascent of Knives. Urgency of Appetite. It's difficult to control oneself. The Ascent of Knives is called the Sharp Stare and the Mother of Mirrors and the Feast of the Grail. If one is to look beneath the stare, as I did last night in my dreams, one understands that last name. It draws a tithe of blood from the feet of those who ascend. Empausi, some shaped like men, many shaped like women, wait beneath the glass of the stairs to satisfy their hunger. I did not approach. I made no sound. I only observed. Okay. So we'll take the dread, we'll take the contentment. Clear my mind. I remember that I was different before. So that should be the fascination taken care of, at least until we start reading the wrong books. Expedition continues. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send in other followers. So, not all the dead rest easy. These ones dislike our intrusion. We can prevail against them with edge, or they may obey one who comes in the name of winter. And then the dry soul curse. We need heart or lantern to suppress this curse. Otherwise, it will not keep us from our goal, but it may trouble us later. Well, let's bring Violet in to clear out our winter. And then our lantern crew can come in. Promotion. My son, the elder Glover confides, was a dear boy, but he did lack ambition. You, on the other hand, burn with it. I see myself in you. Do you know that? I do. Well, I think we could find you a place on the board of directors. The younger Glover's disappearance left a board seat empty. I now occupy it. If you don't attend this job regularly, you may suffer a demotion. So the board seat seems to be a little more forgiving on these sorts of things. It's been a while since I've tested it. I definitely don't want to be going now because of the notoriety, but I will try and fill the job every once in a while when I need. But if anything, it's just going to give me a nice big stack of money. For the meantime, though, I'm going to take my Mystique. We'll throw some passion at it. And my inspiration will be... what? Cat Carol. Colors of the night. I could spend money on better paints, or perhaps I could use more exotic pigments. Oh, that'd be delightful, but... okay. So let's not get the dread. Season of Visions coming up afterwards. I've got no luck. I prepared the text for study. Alright, so... these pages, you can also sort of see how early this was because it says I made notes towards a translation, now I can study it. These pages outline the nature and the doctrines of an hour that demands the union of what is at rest, an hour that is sought at the water's edge and beneath the moon, the witch and sister. The language is naughty, poetic, willful. It'll take some untangling. The dead circle the edge of our vision like frayed dreams. The very air around us is chill with winter's shadow. They must recognize that. It's a little risky to add Pope Clifton right away because if we do get caught, actually, you know what? I'm gonna add the Callagine just to preserve it. But yeah, so there's the possibility that one of my followers gets wounded. Okay, talking-wise, I want to deal with notoriety, so Leo gets to be our propagandist again. All conviction. I could spend money. Oh, nope, we're waiting on that. The sun still moves, the wind still walks, my journals are the labyrinth clue. Okay. And it occurred to me, I went to the stag door. I went to the wrong place, though. If I wanted to get the protection from the suppression bureau, I should have gone through the white door. The artist's reward. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. Okay, so... I'm hoping I'm not late to the first board meeting. And I got rid of the staleness. That's a nice touch. So I'm going to be a little corny here and just keep this in the verb. So delightful blood will turn into dread, but I think I'm just going to have to learn to live with disappointment. This is restlessness, so that's going to turn to dread too. Okay, what's coming up next? Season of Despair, so I do need to come up with something to get rid of the restlessness, and this is the cost now of ignoring my board seat, because normally I get rid of restlessness through... Normally I get rid of restlessness through painting. Alright, I do still have some options available to me though. Let's see. The dread drawback. They're almost flat, faces flat and watchful. They will not trouble us. Okay, so Clifton comes in. That's a pity. I was actually hoping for fascination. Painted river runs from a great chamber near the white door, far through the mansus, to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the ships to best use the painted wind. And all the while, the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. Okay, there's not much I can do about this unless I want... Yeah, all of the verbs that I would normally use to clear this stuff out are occupied. The Colonel is a fierce hour, but the power which knows light, and he says he has survived worse. His power will almost certainly protect us. Geminid reminds us that the witch and sister have been known to manifest as the sister and witch, and that this face may heal while the other face is always hungry. It implies connections between the witch and sister and the hours of the wood, especially the secret keeper called the Velvet, but it is ambiguous on whether the witch and sister is a wood hour proper, and it speaks at length about the sadness of the two who are one, the sadness that remains from their time as flesh. So, a new ritual, the rite of the crow's quenching. This rite calls on the beach crow at sunrise or moonrise. The crow accepts the sacrifice and returns the gifts of the earth. So the Geminid is, this is the one book that you get to keep afterwards. So in this case, it is a level 2 knock artifact. Got the Moldy Warp Admonitions, which we already had. Another Thakic Invocation, so if I want, I can try and upgrade that to another level of Grail. And the Geminate Invocation. So all lore that we've already had before. The Vincent Inscriptions. Everett Vincent transcribed these Frisian inscriptions from a cliff in Anatolia where he famously survived a lightning strike. He died 7 years later to the day. His bones, the legend has it, were hot to the touch. Lock the study door, the work begins. And again, try and make excuses for delaying my first arrival at the board meeting. Alright. Actually, while I'm at it, I wonder. It's worth a shot. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. So this is dread we're going to have to deal with later. And then, of course, there's going to be another notoriety that comes out of the expedition. Sickness. Been a while since I've had to deal with that. I think that I'm just going to use money to get rid of, though. And honestly, this current delaying tactic really is not... I really don't think it's working for me. Because, of course, it invites the question now as to how I'm going to be getting the contentment. Let's take the Forgotten... Yeah, Chronicle. Last night, Gearby was talkative. He spoke in his siege engine voice of the histories he'd overheard in the waking world. I listened until his stories tailed off again into weeping. Okay, yeah, I've really not done myself any favors here, have I? Especially because there's so much mystique. It's very unlikely that this is going to work the way I want it to. Okay, well, painting-wise... And then we'll paint about... Oh, we'll paint Cat Caro again. Power here is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. Alright, Edward Vince... yep, we read that. So, long ago, the Sisterhood of the Knot recounted the Forge loved the hour called the sun in splendor. The Red Grail long anticipated their union, and the Grail priestesses prophesied it. Okay, in pain we are born, in hunger we are embraced, in delight we are devoured. These are the gates of the body, and this is her promise. Not all that is born decays. In remembrance of that promise, we give ourselves to the feast. Right, talk-wise, really it's, at this point, it's got to be Leo and the reputation. Risk of demotion. Considerable latitude is allowed to someone in my position, but my absence has been noted. I will have to charm the Elder Glover. So, unlucky, but something we'll manage. Finished. Exceptional work. This is something special. It may provoke a reaction. Recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. I'm just dreading to see how much mystique I have after this. Brutal. No staleness, though. I'm just trying to think of some things I can do with the work verb that don't involve... don't involve going to Glover and Glover. I think I'm just going to leave this be, to be honest. In the room that overlooks the grimy glass of the broken conservatory, twisted shapes, yellow pale as maggots, recline on slabs of wood. These are the plaster casts that Foreman made of the poor souls inhabited by the creatures he studied. In some of the figures, the entry holes are visible in the relevant surface. In others, we might assume the creatures entered by ear or mouth or elsewhere. The room is empty, but at last when we chance to break one of the casts, we find Foreman's library treasures cached in the figure's yellowing abdomen. And I'm at the end of my time, so we've just gotten some replacement notoriety. Of course, this is going to be the time that Leo picks that one up. We've got a Callagine, we've got Violet Eau Claire, another Callagine. The Deeds of the Scarred Captain, so welcome book. The World Does Not Weep, so that's almost certainly going to give me some dread. The Devoured Tantra, and on Matthias and Amethyst Imago, Transformation. So not as much progress as I was hoping for tonight, but I want to try to be a little more disciplined with the videos. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you're not already, do feel free to subscribe to the channel, and if you want to be notified, there is a little bell beside which you can click to enable. And it does really help me out if you do leave a like or a comment or otherwise tell your friends about this sort of thing. I am, of course, very grateful for the attention these have gotten so far because all of the indicators seem to be bumping up. And of course, if it hasn't been working for you, don't take it so personally if you leave a dislike. But one way or the other, thank you very much for watching. I will see you all next week, and we will see where we can go with our expeditions.